My name is Mufti Menk. Marriage is one of the greatest blessings from Allah, but many couples do not realize how fragile this blessing can be. Silent cracks begin with small neglects. Love fades when mercy is absent. Unrealistic expectations destroy the beauty Allah has placed in your home. Ego and pride turn hearts cold. Neglecting prayer together leaves the door open for shaytan, and when communication dies, the home becomes a silent battlefield. But the Quran and Sunnah have shown us the way to protect our marriages, to rebuild trust, and to strengthen love with mercy, patience, and gratitude. So stay with me as we uncover the hidden dangers that destroy marriages and how you can protect yours. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that these reminders can reach more hearts and more homes. Silent cracks in a marriage often begin in ways we do not even realize. It could be a word spoken with a little sharpness, a need left unattended, or a prayer once performed together that slowly becomes forgotten. At the time, it may seem small, almost insignificant, but what begins as a small neglect is like a seed planted in the soil of the heart. If watered with more neglect, more harshness, more absence, that seed grows into bitterness, and bitterness becomes a wall. These walls do not rise overnight. They are built brick by brick, moment by moment, until two hearts that once felt so close begin to feel like strangers sharing the same home. Allah reminds us in the Quran that He created spouses so that we may find tranquility in one another, and He placed love and mercy between us. That tranquility is delicate. It requires attention, gentleness, and constant renewal. Just as a garden dies without water, a marriage weakens without mercy. We often forget that the small gestures, a kind word, a soft smile, a patient response are the waters that keep love alive. Neglect them and the soil of the relationship hardens. The Prophet Muhammad showed us in his life that love is not proven in grand speeches or dramatic actions, but in the small moments of care. He would mend his own clothes, serve his family, and offer words of kindness that carried weight. These were not mere actions, they were reminders that mercy is expressed in the details. Yet today, many of us overlook these details. We assume our spouse already knows we love them, already knows we care, already knows we value them. But silence in matters of love creates distance. Love unspoken is love that begins to fade. A harsh word can echo in the heart for years. A cold glance can wound more deeply than a cut. An ignored need, whether emotional or spiritual, can leave scars unseen but very real. When one spouse feels unseen or unheard, shaytan takes the opportunity to whisper, "They don't care about you. You are alone in this." And if these whispers are not silenced with communication and mercy, they become louder until they drown out the bond of the marriage. That is why Islam places so much emphasis on repairing the cracks early. If you notice tension in your relationship, address it with gentleness before it grows. Do not allow arrogance to prevent you from apologizing. Do not allow pride to stop you from listening. Sometimes saying "I am sorry" is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength, because it shows you value the relationship more than your ego. The Prophet said that the best of you are those who are best to their families. Being best to your family begins with humility, kindness, and the courage to mend what is broken before it shatters. Patience is the foundation upon which every successful marriage rests. There will be disagreements, for no two people are identical. But patience transforms disagreements into opportunities for growth. Without patience, every small difference becomes a battle. With patience, every battle becomes a lesson in mercy. When we choose to respond with patience instead of anger, with gentleness instead of harshness, we protect the heart of our spouse from unnecessary wounds. Prayer is another pillar that holds a marriage together. Couples who pray together, who remind one another of Allah, who sit together and seek forgiveness together. These couples shield their marriage with divine light. The moment prayer together is neglected, the door to distance opens wider. Imagine two hearts kneeling side by side, whispering the same du'as, raising the same hopes to Allah. That unity cannot be achieved through material gifts alone. It is achieved when both souls bow before their Creator together, seeking His mercy for their home. Gratitude also plays a vital role. One of the biggest cracks in modern marriages is the lack of appreciation. Spouses begin to take each other for granted, forgetting the efforts made, the sacrifices given, the love once shared. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. When you thank your spouse for even the smallest gesture, a meal cooked, a smile offered, a word of comfort, you nurture their heart and remind them that their efforts are seen. And when you are grateful to Allah for the spouse He blessed you with, He promises to increase you in blessings. Ingratitude, on the other hand, blinds you to the blessings you already have, making you chase illusions while neglecting reality. Every marriage has seasons. There will be times of warmth and ease, and times of trial and difficulty, but it is in the difficult seasons that cracks are most likely to form. If you turn away in hardship, if you choose to neglect when comfort is most needed, those cracks will widen. But if you respond with extra care, with extra patience, with extra remembrance of Allah, then even hardship becomes a source of closeness. Allah tests us not to break us, but to remind us that real strength comes from turning back to Him. The walls that separate hearts can be torn down, but only with effort. They are not destroyed by silence or avoidance. They are destroyed by mercy, forgiveness, and communication rooted in sincerity. When you speak with love, when you listen with empathy, when you act with humility, those walls begin to crumble. And once they fall, hearts that felt distant can once again find tranquility in one another. So do not wait for the cracks in your marriage to become walls. Do not wait until love is buried under years of neglect. Islam teaches us that repairing early, with patience, with gratitude, with prayer, with mercy, is the way to preserve what Allah has blessed. If you choose to act today with humility and sincerity, Allah will place barakah in your home, and the small cracks that once threatened your marriage will instead become reminders of how love, guided by mercy, can overcome any hardship. And remember, it is not grand gestures that hold a marriage together, but the quiet consistency of love expressed daily. One smile, one kind word, one shared prayer, these are the bricks that build a home of mercy. If you keep laying those bricks, your marriage will remain strong by the will of Allah. Many marriages fail not because love is absent, but because mercy is absent. Love is often present at the beginning, full of energy, passion, and dreams. Two people come together with hearts that beat faster, with eyes that see only beauty in one another, with excitement that feels like it will last forever. But as time passes, life unfolds with its responsibilities, trials, and tests. The routine of daily living can dull the shine of early love. The difficulties of sustaining a household, raising children, earning a living, and facing personal struggles all begin to weigh down. And when that weight is not supported by mercy, the bond begins to weaken. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, reminds us in the Quran that He created between spouses love and mercy. It is not love alone that sustains marriage, but love combined with mercy. Love can be passionate but selfish, emotional but unstable. Mercy, however, softens hearts, forgives mistakes, and holds the relationship together when love feels heavy. Without mercy, even the strongest love withers, because mercy is the force that allows us to endure one another's imperfections and forgive one another's mistakes. The Prophet Muhammad lived as the perfect example of this. His marriage was not free from difficulties. No marriage is, but his way of responding to those difficulties was with mercy. He was never harsh in his home. He never raised his hand against his family. He never belittled or humiliated. Instead, he embodied gentleness, forgiveness, and care. Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is strength, because it takes strength to control anger, to overlook faults, to choose kindness when the ego demands retaliation. Many of us fall into the trap of thinking that love alone is enough. In the early days of marriage, when emotions are strong, love feels unshakable. But when disagreements arise, when flaws appear, when disappointments happen, what sustains the relationship is not the passion of love, but the presence of mercy. Mercy is the choice to say, "I will forgive you." Mercy is the decision to hold back hurtful words when anger burns within. Mercy is the act of extending a hand when pride would rather pull it away. Without these moments of mercy, love becomes fragile and breaks under the pressure of life. Think about how many arguments in marriage escalate simply because mercy was absent. A small mistake becomes a mountain because there was no patience to overlook it. A sharp word becomes a wound because no gentle word followed it. A forgotten duty becomes evidence of neglect because there was no mercy to excuse it. Mercy takes what could be destructive and transforms it into an opportunity for closeness. When one spouse falters, the other's mercy brings them back instead of pushing them away. Mercy is also expressed in the way we communicate. Too often, words are used as weapons rather than tools of healing. A heart that is already heavy does not need harshness, it needs compassion. When we speak with mercy, our words soothe, even when we must correct. When we speak without mercy, even truth becomes a weapon that cuts too deeply. The Quran teaches us to speak kindly, for even the right message delivered without mercy loses its blessing. Another place mercy is most needed is in forgiveness. Every human being makes mistakes. Every spouse will disappoint, whether through words spoken in haste, duties left undone, or shortcomings in character. If every mistake is remembered, if every error is held against the other, no marriage can survive. Mercy means letting go of what could be held tightly. Mercy means giving the gift of a fresh page when the past could easily be used as a weapon. The Prophet said, "The one who does not show mercy will not be shown mercy." When you show mercy to your spouse, Allah shows mercy to you. Even acts of worship in Islam highlight the role of mercy in relationships. When the Prophet encouraged men and women to be good to one another, he reminded us that marriage is half of faith. Why? Because it is in marriage that we learn patience, humility, sacrifice, and mercy. Without mercy, the tests of marriage break us. With mercy, the same tests elevate us. When you forgive your spouse, you are not only preserving your marriage, you are also pleasing Allah, who loves those who pardon and overlook. Sometimes, couples fall into the dangerous trap of comparing their marriages to others. They look at social media, they see the highlights of other relationships, and they begin to think their own is lacking. Love begins to feel less, not because it is absent, but because it is not accompanied by gratitude and mercy. Remember that every marriage has its struggles. What matters is not perfection, but mercy in imperfection. When you choose mercy, you protect your marriage from unnecessary harm, and you shield your heart from ingratitude. Mercy also shows in the little acts we often ignore. When a husband helps his wife without being asked, when a wife forgives a mistake without holding a grudge, when both choose to pray for each other in the quiet of the night, these are acts of mercy that keep the bond alive. Shaytan loves to whisper into marriages, sowing seeds of resentment and pride, but mercy silences those whispers. Mercy makes the home a place of sakinah, a place of peace, where even flaws are embraced with love. It is important to understand that mercy does not mean tolerating abuse or injustice. Islam never asks us to endure harm. Mercy means giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt, being patient with their human shortcomings, and striving to improve together. When both husband and wife bring mercy into the relationship, they reflect the divine attributes Allah loves most: kindness, forgiveness, and compassion. So many marriages that end in bitterness could have been saved if mercy had been present. Love alone cannot carry the weight of life's challenges, but love combined with mercy becomes unbreakable. It weathers storms, it endures hardship, it forgives mistakes, and it keeps hearts connected. Without mercy, a home feels cold and distant. With mercy, even the simplest home becomes a sanctuary of warmth and peace. Never underestimate the power of mercy. It may seem small to forgive, to let go, to be gentle, to say a kind word when hurt, but these small acts are what hold marriages together. Love begins the journey, but mercy sustains it. And when mercy flows between two hearts, Allah places barakah in their union, making their home a source of light in this world and a means of earning His pleasure in the next. And remember, marriage is not about perfect people living without mistakes. It is about imperfect people choosing mercy every single day. Unrealistic expectations destroy what Allah has blessed. One of the greatest poisons that enters into marriages today is the silent habit of comparing. A husband looks at another man's wife and imagines she must be more caring, more beautiful, more supportive. A wife looks at another woman's husband and assumes he must be more thoughtful, more loving, more generous. These comparisons slowly eat away at contentment, and with discontentment comes distance. What Allah has blessed in your home is overlooked, while what Allah has given to others becomes the object of desire. This is not only unfair to your spouse, it is an act of ingratitude toward Allah, who in His wisdom chose for you the partner who would complete your test in this life. When we compare, we look only at the surface. We see the smiles in public, the photos on social media, the fragments of moments shared, but we do not see the struggles hidden behind closed doors. Every marriage has its difficulties, every relationship its challenges. Yet shaytan decorates what is far away and makes what is close to us seem ordinary. The Quran warns us not to extend our eyes toward what others have been given, for Allah tests us with what we have and what we do not have. Your spouse is a trust from Allah, and your test is not to wish for another, but to honor the one placed in your care. Unrealistic expectations often come from romanticized ideas of what marriage should look like. Some expect constant attention, constant gifts, constant perfection, but human beings are not perfect, and marriage is not a life of endless ease. It is a partnership built on patience, sacrifice, and mercy. When we expect our spouse to fulfill every need without fault, we set ourselves up for disappointment. And when we dwell on disappointment instead of gratitude, we blind ourselves to the blessings already in our hands. The Prophet Muhammad did not teach us to look for perfection in our spouses. He said that a believing man should not despise a believing woman. If he dislikes one characteristic in her, he will be pleased with another. This is a reminder that flaws will always exist, but gratitude allows us to focus on the good rather than magnify the flaws. Gratitude does not mean ignoring difficulties. It means remembering that no human being is without them, and that every gift of Allah comes with responsibilities and challenges. A husband may work long hours to provide for his family, but come home too tired to offer words of romance. A wife may dedicate her time to caring for children and the home, but forget to show appreciation in the busyness of her day. If we only look at what is missing, we see deficiency. If we look at what is present, we see blessing. Gratitude shifts the heart from complaint to contentment. When you thank Allah for your spouse, when you thank your spouse for their efforts, you water the roots of love and Allah increases your barakah. Comparison also kills intimacy. When a spouse feels they are constantly measured against others, they begin to withdraw. No one can thrive under the shadow of constant dissatisfaction. Mercy teaches us to accept, gratitude teaches us to celebrate, and patience teaches us to endure. Together, these qualities protect a marriage from the bitterness of unrealistic expectations. Gratitude is not only in words, but also in actions. Saying thank you is important, but showing gratitude through kindness, through service, through patience, and through forgiveness carries even greater weight. When a wife thanks her husband for providing, when a husband thanks his wife for her efforts, both feel valued. A heart that feels valued opens, while a heart that feels unappreciated closes. How many marriages have grown cold not because love was absent, but because gratitude was absent? The Quran promises us, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you. This applies to everything, including marriage. Gratitude increases love, it increases harmony, it increases peace. Ingratitude, on the other hand, diminishes. It makes even abundant blessings feel like nothing. It makes a loving spouse feel unworthy. It turns gifts into complaints. Gratitude is the key that unlocks lasting love because it shifts focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. Sometimes, gratitude requires us to change perspective. Instead of asking, "Why doesn't my spouse do more for me?" ask, "What have they already done for me today?" Instead of focusing on the weakness that hurts, look for the strength that supports. Instead of waiting for perfection, appreciate the effort. Gratitude turns the ordinary into extraordinary, the small gesture into a big blessing. It teaches us to value what we have before it becomes what we had. In marriage, we are also reminded to be grateful to Allah first. Your spouse is not perfect, but they are part of your rizq, your sustenance. They are part of your path to Jannah. They are part of your test and your means of reward. When you see your spouse as a gift from Allah, gratitude flows naturally. You begin to forgive more easily, to love more deeply, to overlook more gently, because your gratitude is not just to them, but to Allah who placed them in your life. Unrealistic expectations are rooted in pride. Pride whispers, "I deserve better, I should have more, I should be loved differently." Gratitude humbles the heart and whispers, "Alhamdulillah for what I have, Alhamdulillah for the one beside me, Alhamdulillah for what Allah has decreed." Gratitude does not remove struggles, but it makes struggles lighter because the heart is focused on blessings. If you find yourself dissatisfied in your marriage, pause and reflect. Are you focusing on what is missing, or are you thanking Allah for what is present? Have you expressed appreciation to your spouse, or have you only pointed out their shortcomings? The key to unlocking lasting love lies not in demanding perfection, but in appreciating presence. Gratitude multiplies love, while unrealistic expectations suffocate it. Protect your marriage from the poison of comparison and the burden of unrealistic demands. Instead, nurture it with gratitude. See your spouse with the eyes of mercy. Thank them for their efforts, forgive them for their shortcomings, and most importantly, thank Allah for blessing you with a companion for this journey of life. Gratitude will transform your home into a place of peace, a place of light, and a place where love not only survives but flourishes. And remember, lasting love is not built by comparing what you have to others, but by being grateful for what Allah has placed in your hands. Ego and pride are the hidden killers of marriage. They creep in quietly, often unnoticed, and begin to shape the way spouses interact with one another. What starts as a simple refusal to apologize can turn into weeks of silence. What begins as a small desire to be right can grow into a battle of dominance when I becomes more important than we. The bond that once felt so unshakable begins to weaken. Marriage, in its essence, is not about two individuals competing. It is about two souls completing each other, helping one another on the journey toward Allah. Allah reminds us that arrogance belongs only to Him. Pride in the heart of a human being is a sign of forgetfulness of our true nature, that we are servants of Allah, dependent on His mercy. The Prophet Muhammad warned that a person who has even a grain of arrogance in their heart will not enter paradise. If arrogance can prevent us from entering Jannah, how then can it not destroy the delicate sanctuary of marriage? Pride blinds us to our own faults while magnifying the faults of our spouse. It whispers, "You are always right, you deserve more, you are above apologizing." And with each whisper, love is suffocated, humility is forgotten, and distance grows. True strength in Islam is not found in proving oneself superior. It is found in humility, in the ability to forgive, in lowering the wing of mercy to those closest to us. A man who admits his mistake is stronger than one who defends his ego at the cost of his marriage. A woman who chooses to forgive is stronger than one who allows resentment to consume her heart. Strength is not in stubbornness, but in surrendering to Allah's command to embody patience, kindness, and mercy. When pride rules the marriage, small disagreements become wars. A simple mistake that could be resolved with a gentle word turns into a wound that festers. Instead of asking, "How can we solve this together?" the heart asks, "How can I win this argument?" And when both spouses begin to think in this way, the marriage becomes a battlefield, not a partnership. Allah did not create marriage for competition. He created it for tranquility, and tranquility cannot live in a home filled with ego. One of the most destructive expressions of pride is the refusal to apologize. How many marriages end not because of the initial mistake, but because neither spouse would say, "I am sorry." Apologizing does not lower your dignity, it raises it in the eyes of Allah. It is an act of courage, of humility, of valuing the relationship over the self. The Prophet said that the strong person is not the one who can overpower others in a fight, but the one who can control himself when angry. Imagine if spouses lived by this principle, how many arguments would dissolve, how many hearts would heal, how many marriages would thrive. Forgiveness is another casualty when pride takes over. Pride holds onto grudges, keeping score of every mistake, waiting for the opportunity to remind the other of their faults. Forgiveness, however, frees the heart from chains. Allah Himself is Al-Ghafur, the most forgiving, and He loves those who forgive. When you forgive your spouse, you are not only healing the marriage, you are seeking the pleasure of Allah. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting every hurt or allowing harm to continue. It means choosing not to let resentment poison the love that still exists. Humility is the antidote to pride. Humility means recognizing that you too have flaws, that you too fall short, that you too are in need of mercy. When both spouses practice humility, the home becomes a place of softness. Arguments do not escalate because both are willing to listen. Mistakes do not linger because both are willing to forgive. Needs are met because both are willing to serve. Humility transforms marriage from a stage of competition to a sanctuary of compassion. Another way pride harms marriage is through ungratefulness. Pride says, "What my spouse does is never enough." Humility says, "Alhamdulillah for what my spouse has done, and may Allah grant us more barakah." Gratitude builds love, pride erodes it. When you are grateful for your spouse, you nurture their heart and encourage them to give more. When you are dismissive, they feel unseen, and the desire to give diminishes. Gratitude requires humility, for only the humble heart can appreciate blessings without feeling entitled. Shaytan thrives where pride lives. His refusal to bow to Adam came from pride, and he vowed to use arrogance as a weapon against mankind. In marriage, Shaytan whispers, "Do not lower yourself, do not admit your fault, do not forgive." But Allah calls us toward humility, reminding us that lowering ourselves for His sake raises us in honor. A marriage built on humility, forgiveness, and seeking Allah's pleasure is a marriage protected from the schemes of Shaytan. Couples who remind each other of Allah, who pray together, who make dua for each other, naturally cultivate humility. Prayer softens the heart, reminding us of our dependence on Allah. Dua makes us wish goodness for our spouse even when hurt. Humility grows when we remember that marriage is not just about worldly companionship, but about helping each other attain Jannah. If both spouses keep that goal in sight, pride has little room to take root, for the ultimate purpose is higher than the self. True love flourishes where pride is absent. In its place are patience, gentleness, and mercy. A humble word spoken in love can heal wounds that pride would only deepen. A simple act of forgiveness can restore warmth that pride would have destroyed. A willingness to seek Allah's pleasure together can turn even the hardest seasons of marriage into opportunities for closeness. So guard your marriage against pride. Do not let ego whisper that you are above apologizing, above forgiving, above humility. True dignity lies in submitting to Allah's commands, in treating your spouse with mercy, in placing we above I. Every time you let go of pride for the sake of your spouse, you are not losing, you are gaining Allah's pleasure. And when Allah's pleasure fills a home, no storm can tear it apart. And remember, the marriage that stands strongest is the one where both hearts choose humility over pride, forgiveness over resentment, and Allah's pleasure over their own egos. When two people come together in the name of Allah, their bond is already blessed. But that blessing must be protected, nurtured, and guarded against the whispers of Shaytan. One of the greatest shields Allah has given us is prayer, and when a husband and wife pray together, something unseen yet powerful takes place. Their souls align, their hearts soften, and their home becomes filled with a tranquility that no wealth, no luxury, and no worldly pleasure can bring. Neglecting this gift is like leaving the doors of the heart unlocked, open for Shaytan to step in and sow seeds of distance, pride, and conflict. Every believer knows that Shaytan despises unity. He despises when two hearts come together for the sake of Allah. He despises when a family stands as a fortress of faith. So his first mission is to separate, to whisper thoughts of delay, of neglect, of distraction, until prayer is forgotten. And once prayer is neglected, the heart becomes vulnerable, the marriage becomes weak, and the cracks begin to spread. Imagine the beauty of a couple rising before dawn, making wudu in silence, and standing side by side in the stillness of Fajr. The angels descend, the light of Allah fills the room, and their hearts become bound in a way no hardship can ever break. That simple act, that moment of humility before the Lord of the worlds, builds a foundation stronger than any storm that might come their way. Contrast that with a home where Salah is absent, the world takes over. Screens, distractions, arguments, and pride fill the space where barakah should have been. Love begins to fade, patience runs out quickly, and small disagreements grow into mountains. Not because love was absent, but because the remembrance of Allah was absent. When prayer together is prioritized, mercy flows naturally between husband and wife. They begin to see each other not just as partners in this life, but as companions in the journey toward Jannah. Every sajda becomes a reminder that this life is temporary, that the tests of marriage are opportunities to earn Allah's pleasure, and that forgiving each other is far more rewarding than winning an argument. The Prophet told us that Shaytan ties 3 knots on the back of the head when a person sleeps, and when that person wakes to remember Allah, those knots are undone. Imagine then The power when both husband and wife rise to break those knots together, strengthening not only their own souls but the soul of their marriage. A marriage where salah is neglected will always feel the weight of unseen burdens. Arguments seem harsher, silences feel colder, and affection becomes strained. This is not coincidence. It is the consequence of leaving hearts unprotected. A marriage where salah is upheld feels lighter. Even in moments of difficulty, there is a softness, a willingness to forgive, a reminder that both stand before the same Lord who knows their struggles and sees their patience. That awareness alone changes the way they deal with one another. Prayer brings humility, and humility kills ego. Prayer brings remembrance, and remembrance kills neglect. Prayer brings light, and light kills darkness. There is also something profoundly unifying about duo made together. When a husband raises his hands and asks Allah to bless his wife, to grant her ease, to forgive her, he is showing a love that goes beyond words. When a wife prays for her husband's success, his health, his iman, her love takes the form of mercy, and Allah sends tranquility into their hearts. These prayers are not lost. They rise to the heavens, guarded by angels, recorded in the books of deeds, and returned as blessings that strengthen the very marriage they were made for. The Quran reminds us, and establish prayer, and give zakah, and bow with those who bow in worship. It is not simply about the ritual of prayer, but about the unity of standing together in worship. When couples pray together, they are practicing patience, discipline, and humility side by side. They are learning to pause, to lower their voices, to turn their complaints into supplications, and to turn their frustrations into pleas for mercy. This transforms the atmosphere of the home, making it a sanctuary where love is protected by faith. Shaytan cannot destroy a marriage where salah is strong. He cannot penetrate the bond of two hearts that kneel together before Allah, that cry together in dua, that repent together after mistakes. He cannot break what is bound by light. But he will always try, and his whispers will always target the easiest opening, neglected prayer. That is why the greatest gift spouses can give each other is not just love, not just provision, not just affection, but the reminder to never miss salah, to rise together, to bow together, to seek Allah's mercy together. And even when mistakes happen, as they surely will, salah reminds the couple that perfection belongs only to Allah. That reminder softens anger, cools tempers, and opens the door to forgiveness. A home where salah is alive is a home where Allah is remembered, where angels reside, and where hearts are protected from the harshness of this world. So never underestimate the power of praying together. It may seem small, it may feel ordinary, but it is the very rope that ties hearts to Allah and ties those hearts to one another. And once tied with that rope, nothing in this world can sever it. May Allah make our homes among those where His name is remembered, where salah is upheld, and where mercy flows endlessly. When two hearts come together in marriage, Allah places between them love and mercy. But that love needs a voice, and that mercy needs expression. When communication disappears, silence becomes louder than words, and what should have been a sanctuary turns into a battlefield of unspoken pain. Many marriages are not destroyed by major sins, but by the slow erosion of connection, by the absence of listening, by words left unsaid. The Prophet, the best of creation, taught us gentleness. He taught us to listen before speaking, to choose words that uplift rather than words that wound. He reminded us that a single kind word can be an act of charity, and that words spoken with sincerity can heal what is broken. Yet in many homes today, couples speak to everyone but each other. They share their frustrations with friends, their joys with strangers, but keep their spouse in the shadows of silence. Communication in marriage is not simply about exchanging information, it is about opening hearts. A husband who listens with patience gives his wife a sense of safety, that her feelings matter, that her voice is valued. A wife who listens with care gives her husband the reassurance that he is respected, that his struggles are acknowledged, that his efforts are seen. When this exchange of listening and speaking exists, trust grows, and with trust comes love that cannot be shaken. But when this bond breaks, when harsh words replace gentle ones, when silence becomes a weapon instead of a healing pause, then even love begins to fade. The Quran speaks of the power of words. Do you not see how Allah presents a parable? A good word is like a good tree, whose root is firmly fixed and whose branches reach to the sky. A good word in marriage is like water to a plant. It nourishes, it strengthens, it allows love to grow, but a cruel word, a careless comment, can cut deeper than a blade. Sometimes a single sentence spoken in anger lingers in the heart for years, poisoning the relationship slowly. That is why the Prophet warned us to speak good or remain silent. Every word we utter has weight, and in marriage its weight is doubled, because it falls not only on the ears but also on the heart. Many couples underestimate the beauty of listening. The Prophet gave his full attention to those who spoke to him, even a child, even a stranger. Imagine then how much more attention we owe our spouse, the one Allah entrusted us to honor. Listening is not about waiting for our turn to reply, but about truly hearing the emotions behind the words. It is about catching the unspoken fears, the hidden pain, the silent pleas. Sometimes what your spouse needs is not advice, not correction, but simply the comfort of being heard. And when that space is provided, love deepens in ways words alone cannot explain. Communication also means expressing gratitude. Too often, husbands and wives do not thank each other for the daily sacrifices, the small kindnesses, the efforts made quietly. Yet the Prophet said, the one who does not thank people has not thanked Allah. A simple Jazak Allah hu Karan can change the entire mood of the home. A word of appreciation can turn exhaustion into renewed energy, loneliness into closeness. Gratitude expressed through words is a key that unlocks deeper intimacy because it tells the heart, I see you, I value you, I do not take you for granted. But shaytan loves silence that breeds resentment. He loves when spouses stop talking, when they assume instead of asking, when they allow misunderstandings to grow unchecked. What could have been solved with one honest conversation turns into months of bitterness. What could have been healed with one apology turns into years of distance. Shaytan whispers, don't speak, they won't understand. Don't apologize, they should apologize first. Don't express love, they don't deserve it. And if those whispers are entertained, communication dies and the marriage begins to suffocate. Even in times of conflict, the Prophet taught us the balance of speech. He never shouted in anger, never used vulgar language, never humiliated his family. Instead, he corrected with wisdom, he advised with kindness, and he forgave quickly. This is the example that preserves marriages. To lower our voices, to guard our tongues, to let our words be medicine rather than poison, this is what builds bonds that last. Silence has its place, but not the silence of neglect, not the silence of withdrawal, not the silence that turns the heart cold. The silence that heals is the silence after listening, the silence used to reflect before responding, the silence that allows tempers to cool before words are chosen carefully. Marriage thrives on open communication, but that openness must be rooted in sincerity. speaking truth without harshness, giving advice without arrogance, sharing feelings without blame. These are the ingredients of a home filled with peace. When spouses remind each other of Allah in their conversations, when they share not only their worldly concerns, but also their spiritual goals, then communication becomes worship. Discussing dreams of Jannah together, making dua for one another, reciting Quran together, these are forms of communication that connect souls in ways beyond this world. A marriage without communication is like a body without a soul. It may exist outwardly, but inside it is empty. A marriage with gentle words, with listening hearts, with honest conversations, becomes a reflection of the mercy Allah intended. The Prophet reminded us that the best of us are those best to our families. And being the best begins with how we speak, how we listen, and how we choose words that heal instead of words that harm. May Allah grant our tongues wisdom, our ears patience, and our hearts the gentleness to communicate with love, so that our homes may be filled with His mercy and light. May Allah fill your marriage with love, mercy, and barakah. May He guide you to words that heal, hearts that forgive, and prayers that bind you together in light. If this reminder touched your heart, share it with others so they too can benefit. Until next time, stay steadfast, stay hopeful, and always trust in Allah's mercy.